All right, you made it through week one. That's awesome. And now we're going to roll right into week number two. And what I'm going to do here in this announcement video is I'm going to go over everything you need to do related to our course for this week. So you want to make sure you pay really careful attention to everything I go over here. In fact, it might not be a bad idea to take notes of some of the things that I point out here as you're watching this announcement video. As always, we're going to be working from the modules. In fact, unless you're checking your course grade or watching a weekly announcement video, you should always be doing your work from the modules page. That's going to be the surest way that you do all the work that you're being asked to do on a weekly basis. When we go into the modules and open up week number two, we can see that we've got 2 thought primers to complete this week. Thought primer number 1 is due Thursday by 11:59 p.m. and thought primer number 2 is due Sunday by 11:59 p.m. You can turn them in earlier if you want to. If you're going to have difficulty meeting those due dates, you just want to shoot me an email so that we can work out the best way for you to get your work done. These 2 thought primers are extremely typical for this course. So by the time you get done completing these, you'll have a really good idea of what the weekly workload is going to be, how you're going to do your work, and kind of what this course feels like to work through on a weekly basis. All right, when you open up thought primer number 1, you'll see that it begins with some video lectures. You want to watch these really carefully, and I strongly recommend that you have your Chapter 1.1 and Chapter 1.2 summary handouts with you as you watch these video lectures so that you can take notes of everything we go over in these video lectures, and you can take those notes right on your chapter summary handouts, and then you have all of that information available to you in one place. And it'll be really easy to keep your notes and your chapter summary handouts organized that way. So you'll watch these lectures, you'll be taking notes of any important concepts or questions that you have about anything that we go over, and you'll see down here when you get to part 2, you're being asked to do a few things. 1, read these chapters out of your course text, and remember, you can get access to your course text in the modules. At the very top of the modules, you have your course text and you have your chapter summary handout. So if you didn't buy these from the bookstore, you can always access them for free right here in the Canvas site. All right, so you'll do your reading out of our course text, chapters 1.1 and 1.2, and then you'll see linked here some self-corrected problems. And when you click on that link, it'll take you to a Word document that has problems for you to work on. You want to make sure you read the instructions really carefully, okay? And after you've completed these problems, you'll go back to the Thought Primer assignment page, and then you'll see you have some videos that will help you self-correct the problems that you just completed. Now, as you watch those correction videos, you want to make sure that if you have any of your answers incorrect, correct it, okay? Correct your answers before you send them to me. And if you don't understand why you got a certain problem wrong or why the right answer is what it is, that's when you shoot me an email and say, hey, I need help with problem number 2. I don't get it, okay? So after you've fixed all of your self-corrected problems, you'll come down here to part 3, and you'll notice that you have another linked set of problems. This time, you're going to be completing instructor-corrected problems. That means that these are problems you're going to create answers to, and you're going to send those answers to me, and then I'll tell you whether or not those answers are correct. And if they're not, I'm going to send you something back saying like, hey, go look at this problem again and think about it this way. All right? Now, when you've completed all of your self-corrected problems and all of your instructor-corrected problems, you'll come back up to the top of the Thought Primer page and you'll click the Start Assignment button, and you'll notice you have options for submitting your work to me. You can upload a series of files. You can put everything into one file and upload that as a PDF or a Microsoft Word document. The only kind of document you don't want to try to upload is a Google Doc, because Canvas gets really funny with Google Docs and I won't be able to read it. Okay, so you can upload a file, or you can click this text entry button right here, and you can copy and paste your work. I don't care if you handwrite your work. I don't care if you type your work. I don't care if you take photographs of your work and upload that. You just want to make sure that your work is really clear so I know exactly what it is that you're doing. Okay, so once you've submitted your assignment for Thought Primer number 1, I'm going to get that. I'm going to take a look at your self-corrected work, at your instructor-corrected work, and I'm going to give you one of 3 scores: 0%, 50%, or 100%, okay? If you get 100%, that means all of your self-corrected problems and all of your instructor corrected problems look good. If you get 50%, That means some of your either some of your instructor corrected problems or some of your self-corrected problems aren't quite right. And in that case, I will send you back some responses to your original answers saying, hey, go back and look at these problems and think about them this way and try it again. Resubmit those problems to me to look at, because our goal is to get you up to 100% for every single thought primer by getting all of your problems right. So you're not going to be settling for less than 100% in your thought primers. You're going to continue to work on the problems that you've not yet gotten credit for until you get full credit. If you get 0% as a score on your thought primer, that means you've got some problems with both your instructor corrected problems and your self-corrected problems. And again, I will send you back information about which problems aren't quite right and how to approach them differently than you did the first time. Okay, so now after you've completed thought primer number 1 and you've got 100% on that, you're going to tackle thought primer number 2. And thought primer number 2 looks really similar to thought primer number 1. You're going to begin by watching a series of video lectures that go over concepts. These lectures in thought primer number 2 are going to introduce you to a very important concept called validity. It's a really important idea to get your head wrapped around because it's going to be a concept that's with us all the way to the end of this course. So if after watching these videos you're thinking, I just don't quite get this, that's when you send me the email saying like, hey, can you explain this concept to me or this concept to me? After you get done watching these video lectures, you'll see here that you've got some reading to do out of your course text, chapters 1.3 and 1.4. And again, you've got a link to some self-corrected problems that you will complete and then correct watching these correction videos here. And then down here in part 3, you've got a link to some instructor corrected problems. And those are the problems that you'll send to me for me to correct, okay? Now, you'll notice in thought primer number 2, there's a feature that wasn't in thought primer number 1, but will be a feature for virtually every other thought primer going forward, and that is a quiz, okay? It's a 10-question, I think, multiple choice quiz on the concepts that are discussed in chapters 1.3 and 1.4 and are discussed in the video lectures for thought primer number 2. You get 2 attempts at this quiz, and you have unlimited time to complete this quiz. You'll get the same 10 questions in the same order for both attempts. So a really smart thing to do is to take the quiz once, go back into it, look to see which problems you got correct, which problems you didn't get correct, then open the quiz again to retake it and just make sure that you mark the problems you got correct on the first attempt the same way and that you don't mark the problems you got incorrect on the first attempt the same way, okay? If after taking the quiz one time, you don't understand a particular problem that you got wrong and you know you're got a high likelihood of getting it wrong on your second attempt, what do? Yes, you email me and say, dude, I'm having problems with question number 4 on the quiz. I don't get this. And that way we can have some back and forth so that the second time you take that quiz, you successfully get all of the right answers. All right, so one thing that's really important as when you do your thought primers is that you are submitting both your self-corrected problems and your instructor-corrected problems, okay? So you're going to be submitting all of that work, and if you're missing one of those parts, you're going to get a nastygram from me saying like, hey, you got to give me your self-corrected problems. You forgot to upload those, so make sure that you are uploading all of your work to me. All right, so if anything is confusing or you have questions about anything or if there's something that I can help with, shoot me an email, and we'll make sure we get you through this successfully. Have a fantabulous week.